Welcome to the Amateur Otaku podcast, the show where we chat, argue, expect about everything we love in anime and manga. There's been a lot of interesting developments in Jujutsu Kaisen. Of course, JJK is one of the biggest, if not the biggest title in all of Weekly Shonen Jump. And somehow, Isaac, we have not covered the series in hardly any capacity on this channel.
Season 1 we did. But that's it.
So, we've got a lot of catching up to do, from Shibuya all the way to the most recent chapter. What the hell is going on in the Jujutsu Kaisen manga? If you're not caught up with JJK, Isaac, what chapter did we just leave off of?
So right now it's 261.
Yeah, if you haven't read 261, get out. We'll see you next season. Have a good one. Enjoy your peace, because it's going to become hell once you catch up. That said, I want to dive into it. Isaac, you kind of wanted to jump into these most recent chapters, but was there any groundwork you wanted to lay before we get right into the controversial elements of recent JJK?
The reason why for some people that is following JJK is that Gege is known to axe their characters. I say they because there is speculation that Gege is a woman and all that, yes, but that's besides the point. But it's and now we have coming to the part where there was speculation of Gojo, everyone's goat, will come back and give Sukuna round 2 and kick his ass, but now we have coming to a cliffhanger / reveal that people start questioning Gege's mentality, if that's is one way to prove it. But then people are acting like Fujimoto is not insane, so I don't know. But due to the whole shenanigans that has happened in these recent chapters, at least I felt that it would be worth talking about it now, even if we are a bit light about it.
Okay. Well, I guess we should just dive into that topic at hand then. Did I'm going to toss it over to you. So we had the setup of Gojo potentially returning. We had that final page 2 chapters ago.
Yeah.
World went crazy. We all questioned what was going to happen, and I know AJ initially oh yeah, that's fake. That can't be real. What is going on here? That's not Gojo. That's a ghost or a specter or something. Getting to where we are now, 2 chapters later, how you feeling?
I'm a little confused, to be honest. I don't like the direction that it went. I honestly don't know if I would have cared that Gojo came back. This just feels so weird to do. It almost feels like somebody really, really pushed for Gojo to come back, and Gege kind of was just I don't want Gojo to come back, so we're gonna do this in the most roundabout way possible. And so I would have liked it to be a Spectre. I feel like you spent this entire time post Gojo's death to be Yuji's he's stepping into his own as the main character,
Right.
He's been getting slandered for so long, whether or not he's truly the main character. And I felt like the tide was starting to turn. They were sort of showing that he's almost like a prodigy of sorts. His development was so swift, so massive that people were kind of okay, these are main character traits. And then even in the aspect of Gojo's quote unquote return, all of a sudden he was able to just get swatted away as if he was nothing. And it's yeah, sure, you could say that was because of the confusion or whatever, but it just feels really weird to do to the person that's supposedly your main character, because now those questions are still there. Is Yuji the main character? Is Yuta the main character?
Yuta's definitely the main character.
I don't know if at this point it might be Sukuna. I don't know who's the main character. And I think where we're at in the series, you should kind of have an idea of that already.
We're in the end game, right? Am I wrong about that?
It feels like it, but I don't know.
That's so strange. AJ, I know that you are probably the most positive on the recent developments compared to everyone else on the panel. How are you? What's your perspective on it? If you are talking, you are muted.
That'd be tragic.
Oh, yep. There we go.
There you go.
I am on the complete opposite spectrum of Digit's point of view on this. For me, I think it's genius the way Gege did this. Everybody wanted go. Well, a lot of the Gojo lovers wanted Gojo to come back, and he
Nah,
was
he'd
like,
win.
okay,
You know, the prophecy has to fulfill itself.
yeah. He was like, okay, bet. And the most Gege way, he was like, I'm just gonna flip this on everybody's head and make them even matter at this point. And for me personally, I think that's a sign of good writing. Because it elicits an emotional reaction for the fans, for the viewers, and stuff like that, which I do like. Um, I also think it makes sense for Yuta to be the one to take over Gojo, um, personally, and I like the way his character growth reflects the world of Jujutsu Kaisen um, wonderfully. Just the way like the world is just surrounded by curses and just bad vibes and stuff like that. Our sorcerers are gonna end up reflecting that, and much like what Megami said, sorcerers aren't heroes. They're just sorcerers to destroy these curses by any means necessary. If humans are involved, they'll die too, much like in Yuji's development in season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, where he has to kill humans, or I guess now curses that were humans. He has to kill them, and that was one of the, for me personally, one of the best developments for Yuji. And of course, he grows even more than that. But for Yuta, I feel like the fact that he at the beginning of his arc, he was just a positive character, a main character of sorts, basically.
Yeah.
Much like how Yuji was, but the way that this world like makes these characters more negative in a sense, where they have to give up a little bit of their humanity to continue working as a sorcerer. And the way Yuta describes that within, what was it, 260, I think? I don't even think it
Mhm.
happened yet. I don't know. But the
It's
way
too
he is
sexy, if I'm not
described,
mistaken.
yeah, the way it's described is that to beat a monster, you need to become a monster. And Gojo knew that already. That's why he took the responsibility away from everybody. But now, since Gojo is dead, the next strongest character wants to do it, even though it's against his morality and stuff like that. So the way Gege just writes Yuta as a character, I just enjoy a lot. And you can say the same thing about Yuji. You can say the same thing about Megami and everybody else, which for me, I just like a lot. So yeah, I just think
Yeah.
it's just genius, basically.
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting perspective of like the theme of becoming the monster, right? And that's something that was very prevalent in that recent chapter of, and it's sad that even in death, Gojo is being used as a tool, a
Yeah,
weapon, still being that
born as a
monster
monster.
to fight Sukuna, right? This monster. So that's an interesting and very valid perspective on it. Isaac, I'm tossing it back to you because you haven't actually given your thoughts. You kind of helped me lay the groundwork for this conversation. So where are you at right now?
I'm honestly mixed kind of deal of in a sort of between Dage and AJ, because it's sort of like had this reveal being ending up at the middle of the chapter type of deal, I might have been, oh shit, it was good and all, but then it came to the next chapter and just, what the hell? So it was harder to kind of swallow or digest or whatever you want to call it. But I have to agree with AJ here because it makes sense for the character of Yuta that he is going to go the one step after that everyone else won't do, because he's the only one that's able to do it. Because they need every card imaginable to be able to win against Sukuna. And my biggest question is more about how people about this whole thing, and which is the thing I'm reacting to the most, is people seems to be more concerned about Yuta there than about Gojo having his body to turn for Gojo to have his body turned into a weapon. It's sort of like how Gojo said, "I don't care about what happened. I'm just gonna die." But I was a bit annoyed that Shoko took it so easily, which makes just question: was he annoyed, sad that everyone else took it so easily besides Yuta? Sort of like that. And if people took it as concerning for both Yuta and Gojo, I think more people would have accepted the whole scenario, because I'm with AJ. Like, it makes sense that he would go the step beyond kind of deal. But that's at least is from my perspective, because this whole ordeal is what did Gengen say? Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo, or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? And to some extent, you might argue that this will come full circle, no matter how the end objective is. And it will become quite tragic if Yuta is at least able to assist Yuji without dying and taking down Sukuna, in my book, because that just means that Gojo was only he was just he was just a weapon all along, and not just his own character to an extent. If you catch my drift, I mean, it's a choice that makes sense and all that, yes, but you could maybe have added some more layers so that more people would have been accepted of it. And going back to the whole, what I mean with it was a cliffhanger, people was all hyped. Well, oh, Gojo is back, blah, 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 blah. But then people, hype got crushed, and yeah.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into a couple more topics of conversation I wanted to throw at you guys. You can just jump in whenever you have something to add, but the audience perspective is always a really big thing when it comes to stories like this, right? Because he does hit you with the final shot of like Sukuna looking over and he sees Gojo. He sees Gojo's face. And so that knowing that the audience has longed for Gojo to come back for what, like 2 years now? Like, is it on them for not just going with the flow? That like, it's Gege's story at the end of the day. That's the writer. You're following that vision. How much of that is like just on the audience for like gearing themselves up or expecting something else and then being disappointed when the twist does happen?
I would say it is a lot on the audience. I'm a big proponent of expectations set you up for how you basically interact with anything. Like, I've said it time and time again with a lot of people who, when they talk about why they didn't like Multiverse of Madness, for majority of people, they always go, oh, because I expected X, Y, Z, this character, that character, and it's like, well, who told you that? Did you just believe something and you got so inside your own head that when the story went, say, how the actual author wanted it to go, you were upset? And the same thing could be said here. Even for my reaction, like I said, I felt like that this is pushing Yuji away as who's supposedly supposed to be the main character. But to your point, is Yuji supposed to be the main character? You know, is it a mixture? Is this supposed to be an ensemble cast?
Yeah, that's where the kind of leading to my second question of like Gege's the way Gege structures the story. And I think a lot of that comes from the early arcs of JJK, that first season, right? Where it's like, even like just recently, Fortnite had a Fortnite pack, and it's Megami Nobara, Yuji, Gojo, and it's like
Yeah.
that's who you think is the main cast, what you presented as the main cast, and then it's just like, oh no, it's actually Yuta, or it's actually Sukuna, who is the protagonist of the story. So it's like, how much of that is also on the author for selling a particular vision and then doing a 180?
Yeah,
For me, I think it's that, but it's also the progression of the story. Like it's always been like Yuji was the lens. It was the lens for the audience to get into Jujutsu Kaisen. But after that, it was just a progression of introducing all the characters and then making each character as important as Yuji at the same time. But fine example, Maki. She had her own specific arc. Um killing her clan, or spoiler alert. I guess.
well, we've said it from the jump. They
Yeah,
should be
Yeah.
caught up.
We are talking about the most recent chapter.
Yeah.
If they don't know about that, get out.
Her killing her clan, and then you also had Yuta, that's more prevalent now. Because right now, with other shonen anime, is like Naruto, Ichigo, they all have the power of friendship or some shit like that, basically. But with Yuji, he doesn't really have that. It's more
Yeah.
so you need to have skill base to beat this opponent. That's why you have more powerful characters like Yuta, like Gojo being more prevalent now, because this is the end game. And so I can see why Gege sort of kind of like devolved from Yuji a little bit, but now that he's growing more as a character and growing as strong as these characters like Yuta and Maki, he is becoming more prevalent within the story now. You can see that within the writing, you can see that within the manga at the same time. So I just like it, the way that Gege is structuring, that Yuji isn't like the main character in the sense of like he's going to defeat every single opponent he goes up against, like Naruto, like Ichigo, and basically like that. So for Gege to just do that, I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's fascinating because the thing that we praise manga for, as opposed to like Western comics, right? Comparing shonens to like Marvel and DC, is that in DC Comics, for example, Batman will always have to come out on top in one shape or another. He's the main character. The Bat family are the main characters in a Batman story. You can have a spinoff or two about somebody else, but we always come back to that core group, and the status quo has to stay the same.
Yeah.
And we usually praise manga because they can do what, like, it's one singular author's vision. A couple notes here and there from editors and Shonen Jump, but generally it's one person's vision, right? I think this is where it kind of gets interesting because most shonen still stick to that formula, though. Like the Naruto franchise is Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, right? Like those are the main core characters.
Yeah.
In JJK, again, like I was saying earlier, Yuji, Gojo, Yuta, Megami, Nobara, that's the core group of characters. At least that's what people thought. And so for you to get, like you said, we're saying, AJ, so far removed from that, I think is where audience perception is getting a little like, because while Gege has free reign to do whatever they want, and that doesn't even mean it's inherently bad, but I think it's hard for people to kind of grasp, like, oh yeah, who is the main character of this? Is there no main character in this? That might also be the point too. It's like we're in this world, and we're just spectating, seeing what's going to happen, who lives, who dies, whatever. Like there's a chance that Yuji isn't alive at the end of this, and we follow somebody else's POV in the final moments. You know,
But
so that's what makes it very
why
fascinating.
That's why I like it a lot, because basically throughout this entire manga, it's just chaos. Like the whole premise of the story is just chaos, and the way that the audience is like perceiving this, like you said, like who the fuck is the main character? What is the story about? I just think that this chaos is what Gege wants people to like feel, because it's like
That's low key kind of twisted. Not gonna lie.
yeah. And Gege is a twisted type of person too. You could just tell that in the story. So it's like,
this was supposedly to be a lot darker before the whole school pitch and all going, so that they had some exorcist type tone, with the whole story being the society wanted to create sorcerers to be able to stop Rika and Yuta, and that were going to be the bad guys somehow.
I will also say that just to throw the audience a bone, for a good string of chapters, let's say 10. That might be an inaccurate number, but it feels very close to it.
Give or take.
It was Fighter of the Week fights Sukuna, get his hits
Literally.
in, and then dies. Fighter of the Week, and it was just so to throw the audience a bone of, I don't think it's just the chaos of it all. There was a really long stretch where it became Power Rangers in a sense of, all right, you got to fight the monster of the week, except in this case, the Power Rangers was Sukuna. So
I'm going to stand up for our friend Trayvon and say not too much on Power Rangers.
But
continue.
It's the truth. Power Rangers is very much built on that. And a lot of stuff is built on that. You fight the villain of the week and then you go on to the next thing. And
with that in mind, is Sukuna the main character and he's fighting villains of the week?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why when I brought it up originally, I was like, who is the main character here? And I think at some point, if it is Sukuna, run with it. That's a really good way to do it. I'm gonna be honest. Having this entire story set up and it turns out, oh, we're supposed to be rooting for this villain this entire time. It's twisted, it's crazy, but it's a really interesting take. Except I feel like we're just so much on, well, who's going to have the power up of the week? Is it going to be this character, that character, or that character? And then we're back to that square one again the next week.
I don't think it's more of a power up. I think it's more of each of them are losing part of their humanity as they fight Sukuna. So they become more monster like. So you mentioned basically the monster of the week, like Power Rangers. So I personally, I don't see that. in that sense, like in the beginning of the series, sure, you did have like different curses each time and so on and so forth. But after that, it just focused on one specific villain. And sure, Gege could make Sukuna the protagonist and we root for him, but as we root, I don't understand why we were root for Sukuna, basically.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily even rooting for Sukuna, but if it's clear that we're following Sukuna as the main character, like main character doesn't mean protagonist, right?
Yeah.
Like Eren Yeager is the main character of Attack on Titan, but very early on, you start to see like season 2 and 3, you're like, oh, okay, this is the bad guy now. Okay.
Yeah.
You know? And then we still cut back to the heroes, which were our villains. That's why Attack on Titan is so interesting. Reiner's now the main, like the hero of that story. That's why I personally don't enjoy JJK, because the very things AJ likes is what don't work for me. Of like, it's just constant death and destruction and misery, and I can live with that. But it's like you were saying, did I think we've gotten to the point where just the audience are like, to what end? How many, like, for 200 chapters, how long can you do this? You know?
Exhausting. It is exhausting. I agree with that.
It's one of those things where and it's tough because it's not like I'm not enjoying the story.
Right. Yeah, it's not like it's bad.
Yeah, I'm very confused about the story for sure. But, you know, it's just one of those things of, like you said, how long are we doing this for? You know, is this even with Yuta being in Gojo's body, is this just to buy some time for a couple weeks until we got the next fighter? Like,
right.
I think that's sort of the biggest takeaway from it, is just it's manufactured chaos. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
I understand now. I just thought about it. Now I understand why you say Power Rangers is the villain of the week. Basically, I understand it now. Okay, you
Yeah.
can keep going.
Isaac, you've been quiet. Any thoughts?
I mean, this old Power Rangers of the week is kind of perfect.
Again, not too much.
Yeah.
It's in the good way for
I
me.
mean-
It's like running the gauntlet for
It's,
Sukuna.
I love
like
Power
it.
Rangers. So
I like
it.
Running joke.
It came to the point that they build up hype towards one character, and then it ended up that one of the nameless side villains, antagonist, or what do you want to call it in JAK, was the one that did more damage. And actually, it's a. Did you, AJ, know what I'm talking about?
Cool. Can you make sure the audience knows what you're talking about?
They hyped up Miguel in the one of the chapters, and the next chapter it ends up that that heart-shaped nipple man turns out doing more damage to Sukanovic. Okay, why?
How soon do you think this all blows up in Sukuna's face? Like, how long can Sukuna keep going? Like,
Man, he remember a new power every other chapter, Mike. I don't
know,
know.
right?
The problem with Sukuna is Gege knows how to give the Sukuna power up through binding wows, which is at this point complete bullshit. It's sort of, I mean, okay, I can't. I wouldn't
No,
call
you're
it
right. It's complete.
bullshit.
It's like it's built-in plot armor at that point.
It's built-in plot
Yeah.
armor that makes sense within the lore, which I will. It's wrong to say that as annoying it to become, it's kind of genius that they actually have an ingrained plot armor that they can use without making it. Oh, that just came out of nowhere. If that makes any sense.
It's bullshit in a sense of like where did this come from, but at the same time, it does make sense because it doesn't contradict anything of that power set at all.
Exactly.
And it's not like Sukuna is the only one to make these binding vows. Anybody can make these binding vows. Toto, for example, had the same thing happen to him. So it's like it's a tit for tat thing, and for me, I just like it because Sukuna has been hyped up to be this basically what is it? Overwhelming force, basically, in this universe. So for him to like basically run the gauntlet on every single powerful character in this universe, back to back to back to back to back, I like it a lot. But I do have a question. Would y'all rather had Gojo fight first and then these characters, or would you rather have everybody fight Sukuna and then Gojo comes in last? Which one would you rather have?
Go
Or
to
have?
first.
Yeah, I think that I will say I do think his death worked perfectly for the story. It made sense to be like, we're gonna throw out our big gun first, and then now we have to scramble because the thing that we thought we wouldn't have to do happened. So like for story wise, that makes complete sense. I just don't think you needed to bring him back, even if it's in this roundabout way. Like if you wanted to show his death for it to be, everybody has to rise above that. I feel like you almost copped it out by saying, well, we're going to use that shell one more time and basically turn him into a transformer, or not even a transformer, but a Gundam, essentially. We're piloting him. Like I think
for me, I'm definitely in Digis camp. I feel like, and it's funny, how we usually talk MHA on this channel. It's like seeing these two sides of the same coin, right? Where my hero is unbridled optimism and JJK is the deepest depths of the darkness, right? And how do you rise out of that if you can? But one thing that Isaac and I hated initially was Star and Stripe, right? And Star and Stripe, her only purpose was to throw a big gun at Shigaraki to prove how powerful Shigaraki is and how big of a threat Shigaraki is. The caveat, though, is that Star and Stripe weakens Shigaraki permanently for the rest of the story, which gives the weaker heroes, like Deku, a fighting chance, right? So, Isaac with the memes, audio listeners aren't going to see it, but that's why you watch the YouTube video. But I'm saying all that to say is, if Gojo died where he did, that's fine. But I feel like Gojo needs to do something to give them a chance to beat Sukuna. It feels like he dies for nothing, which is where I think a lot of people kind of struggle. If he came in, he crippled Sukuna in some way, some possible way, to give Yuta and Yuji a chance to finish him off in these final chapters, it would feel a little bit better. Maybe limit the ass pulls somehow, right? I don't know how you would do that, but him dying for nothing, I think, is what made it an issue for so many people. Him dying in general isn't the problem. It's the same thing with Nabara. Her death by itself isn't a problem. Her being one of the more interesting female characters in Shonen and dying that quickly for almost nothing, like, it does hurt Yuji, but you kind of just fridged her, you know? That's when it becomes a problem. So I feel like you can still do it, but I would just tweak it a little bit because, like we've been saying, it's been nothing but chaos. I want the chaos to have a little bit of a purpose.
Okay, so everybody already knows this. I had a huge problem the way Gojo died. That basically just a off-screen death, and we all know
that was a bad
the
call.
reason. Yeah,
Yeah, that part was
was
bullshit.
awful. I think part of the reason was because Gege didn't really know how to kill off Gojo, and and that was the only way he could do it, basically. But yeah, personally, I do like that Yuta controls Gojo. What Digit Gundam style, basically.
Whoop 'em Gundam style.
Like we had Kenjaku all these years, and no one had an issue with him, basically. So
I did.
I don't see the issue.
I did.
I love the honesty.
You did? Really?
Yeah, I felt like that was a cop out too.
Oh my goodness!
I did not like it. That was like, oh. I felt like it would have been more interesting if it wasn't oh, his body got taken, like, because the whole like him losing his way and like losing faith in humanity essentially was so interesting. But then all of a sudden now it's, oh well, it's also his body got stolen. So it's this very, I don't know, ancient dude basically pulling the strings. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, that entire plot line is one that just didn't really work for me. But I get
And
it.
the way he
I guess.
and the way he gets taken down is, well, it shows that Gege is a fan of Bobo. Let us go with that. Which is just a weird contrast considering what the overall tone is, but I enjoyed it, not gonna lie.
I know some of those words.
Yeah, sorry to get you off track, AJ, but yeah.
But to go back on how taking down Sukuna. Honestly, it is I can see either two ways. No, a major way is that Binding Wows is going to bite him in the ass at one point. He is just going to sort of like overload with them to being in sort of like trying to keep up with Yuji, Todo, Juta, etc. Or Judy get in. I don't know if I want to call it a second awakening, but he is going to be able to get his domain expansion, and it's similar to Sukuna, considering, as we now know, is it dismantle or is it cleave he can use now? I can't recall.
I thought it was cleave, yeah.
It's cleave.
Yeah.
And he is getting a similar his domain expansion, and is, because of his awakening, being able to take down Sukuna, because, as we all know, twins in this whole series is a bad thing, and I wouldn't be and it would go full circle considering, well, yes, he is technically Sukuna's nephew, but it's sort of like going in full circle that he avenged his father kind of deal, which I feel is fitting in this kind of world. The biggest
Mhm.
question for me, and I do believe they are going to take down Sukuna for the sole reason as this is a Shonen Jump manga. This isn't Kodansha that published Attack on Titan. If it was in the same publication as Attack on Titan, Sukuna would probably have won by now, if you ask me.
But if Sukuna's the main character, wouldn't Sukuna winning continue
Yeah,
the
but
theme of Shonen Jump?
yeah, I mean, with Shonen Jump, it's all you have to fight bad guys to win the day, even if it's looking completely hopeless, kind of stuff.
Is it
But
though? Because I feel like this entire book is proving that's not the case.
yeah, but yeah, my biggest question is more: will Megumi survive or not at the end of this? Because Gege said in an interview, either one will die of the big four, which is Gojo, Nobara, Megumi, Ryuji, or three will die and one only surviving.
It's definitely
And
gonna be 3 at this point.
yeah, it's definitely gonna be three at this point. And do we know? Is it if that thing is still in full force? Is it going to be Juiji that survives or Megumi survives? And how the heck are they going to? Well, I don't. I personally say that Juiji should be the one that survives because I don't think if I were Megumi coming back, I don't think I would be able to live with myself, probably knowing what this body have done while it has been taken over. Not to mention the bath Sukuna did to destroy his soul even more. I wouldn't be surprised if Megumi said "fuck everything" and do the murder on his own.
Um, so that's a thing that I don't know if Shonen Jump would allow is having one of their teenage protagonists unalive themselves at the end of the story.
Yeah, I can't see that
Yeah,
one. That one, that'd be crazy.
yeah,
So
but
if we're concerned about the censors, I think that's the thing that they're gonna be like, yeah, we can't do that one, buddy.
yeah, but you get
I
what
have
I
to
mean.
disagree.
You get what I mean, at least.
Yeah, I mean,
It's,
Megane could just get killed. I don't think we would
yeah,
go, there. I don't know. Like, honestly, this is another thing I want to ask. I know we don't have much more time because we've got to get to another video, but I wanted to ask you guys: at what point does all of it, like, at what point do you stop care? Like, we've seen so many characters die. Does it matter to you guys, like, deeply if Megami or Yuchi or Yuta actually die? Because after 50 plus character deaths in this story,
Yes.
that's okay.
Yes.
Yes, you care, or yes, you don't. Doesn't
Yes, I
matter.
care. Yes, I care.
Okay.
This is basically for me at least, it's the Game of Thrones effect.
Mm-hmm.
People died left and right in Game of Thrones. My favorite characters died left and right in Game of Thrones. I still cared. I still love that show. So for me personally, yeah, I do care about Megami. I do care about Yuji, Maki, Yuta. I care about all these characters because for me, it took me a lot of time to like get to know these characters and just to see them struggle, and I want them to persevere even though they might not at all. I just
Mm-hmm.
have this hope for, at least for me, I just have this hope for these characters. um but going back to what Isaac was talking about, the only way I can see them beating Sukuna is if Yuji weakens Sukuna's soul attachment to Sukuna and Megami's soul. That way, Megami will have that effect to like at least control the body, and then this is all I can see. Megumi is gonna end up usually he's either gonna end up doing the last blow to Megumi's body, end up killing him, and that might be it. Because Sukuna can't live without a host, basically, since he's just a cursed object. So it's like
Right.
that for me. That's the only way he can die or he can lose, basically.
I mean, I think Megumi's dead. I'm gonna be honest. I think
I
it's
agree.
over for him.
I thought it was over for him as soon as this happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, well, that's another character down. And to your point of how many deaths does it take where you're like, all right, I just don't care.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I want to rephrase it a little bit because it's not that you don't care about the characters themselves or care about the story, but like you're kind of desensitized to the point. Like AJ was saying, the Game of Thrones effects. Like, well, yeah, anybody can die at any moment, and you eventually become numb to the idea of a character death. You know?
Yeah, I think honestly at this point the only character, and it's the same way I got with Game of Thrones, where it was like, okay, it became to the point where like there are certain characters now I'm like, all right, they're probably going to survive. So like if we're taking the Game of Thrones route, like if any of the Stark siblings would have officially died, like obviously towards the later end, like the ones that were still left alive, I would have been really shocked. Or like I didn't think Daenerys was gonna die, so that kind of was upsetting for me. But like everybody else, when they died, I was just like, well, yeah, it was their time. And I'm kind of that way with. Honestly, I don't have a character. I guess Yuji, because I'm still thinking that he's the main character. But like, if Yuta dies, yeah, well, you know, if Maki dies, if Toto dies, it's just like, well, I mean, obviously everybody can get it, and that's sort of where I'm at with this series. That's not necessarily a bad thing. At least I won't be out here like super disappointed if any of these other characters die.
Yeah,
But
I was shocked how many characters survived Attack on Titan. So you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes it pays off. There are definitely series where I'm like, everybody's going to die, and I think it's just that's the tone that this anime has or this manga has set. I feel for the anime watchers though. They thought that this last season was pain.
I am really interested to see what audience reception is, because manga readers and anime watchers aren't necessarily like, they overlap a ton, but they're not necessarily the same type of viewer. Because like for me, like you guys know, like halfway through Shibuya, I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me. I'm over it. But I wonder at what will the anime watchers have a breaking point, or will they just suffer through it like the manga readers?
I feel like it'll be much like the Shibuya, like just where I remember talking to my brother about it, and he was like, bro, this is pain. I need to feel good after this. And I think it's going to be that. Like, hopefully something really good, like a feel good anime comes out that same season, because you're going to need it.
Fearing your only hope.
Seriously.
Honestly,
Fearing gets darker, by the way.
I'm picking up the manga. Don't tell me that.
To answer the question, it's all about who dies and when and all that jazz. No, Nobara, yes, that hurt. Now, Mr. I'm tired of work. I want to move away. It did hurt, but not in the same way.
Interesting description.
Mr.
Description.
I don't like the way you said Nanami like that.
Nanami, okay. I forgot his name, okay?
Oh, the disrespect.
Yo. Yeah.
That's what I'm like. That's a way to describe an anime, but all right.
Yeah, but then we have Mr. Waffle guy and the lawyer, and I just...
Mr. Waffle? Wait, who's Mr. Waffle?
Yeah, you
Isaac, I need you to Google the names of these characters.
Yeah, Kashima, he got Waffle with a world slash. His nickname in the fandom is Waffle Guy.
Fandoms are funny.
Never heard that before.
I haven't. I didn't know who you were talking about.
So the fact that Kenyaku's nickname is Kenny. Kind of deal. Yes, I am serious. That's the nickname. But, so, well, Kashima and the lawyer guy, no, it was just, whatever. What did you say, AJ?
Iguruma.
Miguruma, thank you. But then we also have, and it will hurt if, and he will likely die. Yuta dies, and Yuichi die, and Megumi at this point, he has been away far too long to start caring at this point. And I do believe that killing him off would be more salvation than not, if I'm being completely frank. Sort of like how I felt for another character, which you know who I mean, which would be a spoiler for a certain group here. So,
Can you talk about?
Yeah, I hope whoever that was for, they get it.
Yeah,
I think that might have been for me, but I don't think I get it. Can you at least say what franchise? What franchise are you talking about?
And a currently ongoing franchise that is soon to be ending.
Is the name like a spoiler too or something?
Yes, yes. MHA.
Oh, okay.
There's a million characters in MHA. Nobody's gonna know who you're talking about. I got you though. I got you.
The way Isaac went about going around the name of the title, it kills me.
Yeah, I was trying to be as spoiler-free as possible.
There are 30 kids in Deku's class alone. Even with that knowledge, nobody's gonna know who that character is.
Okay,
so you're fine. You're fine.
But you know who I mean and the context and all that, yes, at least.
Yeah, that happens this season. They'll find out soon. Whoever you're trying to keep from spoiling.
But but yeah, to answer your question about characters, it depends on who gets killed. To be honest, if when it were only characters that Gege have made us truly attached to, it would probably become more numb because it happens so often, even though it would hurt. But you get what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I wanted to hear your guys' perspectives, because we all have different feelings towards JJK, and I know that like my breaking point was very early on in the series, because it's like, yeah, you've killed for what I felt was two main characters in back-to-back episodes in Shibuya.
Back to back.
Yeah, that's why it's like that was a lot. Like I can handle character deaths. Then back to back, it's just like, okay, I don't know if I should be invested because the two of my favorites are already out of here, and we're on episode 5. I'm gone.
One of my friends did that with Naruto. That was he really liked Zabuza and Haku, and obviously they died. He was like, "Yeah, I'm done with this."
Dang, yeah, you should have said they come back.
I didn't get a chance to. We were watching it all together for the first time, and he never watched Naruto again.
I didn't know Zabuza had stands like that. Dang.
It was crazy. I was so shocked because I thought he was kidding, and then he just never watched it again.
Great villain, but yeah, like I don't think I would have staked my entire I'm never watching because of Zabuza. That's again why it's cool having different perspectives and hearing different opinions, because like I just shrugged them off. I'm like, okay, that's the villain of the week. We're done.
Right.
That said, anything else on Jujutsu Kaisen, you guys, before we get out of here?
No.
No, I got nothing.
I wish Gege the best. He needs his rest.
Yeah, I do hope that they, rest up, get some well needed recovery time. This chapter really feels like they got pushed to still put that out. So hopefully they get a chance to not have to.
Dark humor, but it's an ironic timing that they have been forced to draw Gege in these 2 chapters, and suddenly becomes ill and to the point that he need a break, knowing that Gege is not a fan of Gojo.
I'm by the time this episode comes out, we'll have clarity. But is Shonen Jump just on break? Because MHA has the same break. They're both off for 2 weeks.
I can check. Hold on.
That's a good question.
So it's like Gege could be sick, but also the book might just be on break too, because two books having the same break was kind of weird to me.
No,
I know that, for example, Centuria has a chapter this week. One Piece is on break. Spy has another chapter this week, so I think it's more person to person.
Undead Unluck is this week too.
Right.
Well,
this
week
all
makes sense.
right. All of them come out this week, but then it goes on break
Oh,
for 2 weeks after.
We got
right. Yeah. So as of this recording, MHA and JJK are both on a 2-week break. So that leads me to believe something might be up. Like both of them, like one being on a 1 week and one being on a 2 week, I can get, but both at a 2-week break is kind of weird.
And on this recording, One Piece is on break, and there will be no chapter this week, so something might be going on, yeah.
Yeah. I also know that the Olympics are coming up very soon too. I don't know if that affects them at all.
That could be it. Also,
in like what 3-4 weeks, something like that. But yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me and Isaac for this awesome discussion. Doc, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me over at X, where at the Emblemaniac, and well, you can find me here at the Amateur Otaku. So I'm currently editing a beast of a video we did a recording for, which, oh dear God,
welcome to my world, buddy.
And I have something else planned on the background, and we are also soon to be having the last Naruto video published soon, and many more.
Hell yeah. Can't wait for Naruto. We get them episodes sometime this fall. Hyped. AJ.
Has that been announced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I missed that. Okay, cool.
We'll get you caught up later. We got to get out of here. Where can they find you, bro?
You can find me at Collider doing good old anime articles. You can also find me on Twitter at KNerd89. That's about it.
Didge.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Didge_DEE. You can also find me on the Geek Set podcast every other Sunday.
Oh, Lost Holocron.
Oh, and the Lost Holocron. That will be back. You are right. Thank you for reminding me, because the
Acolyte
is out.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Ha, I'm back into Star Wars now. Love to see it. You can find me at Novice Cinephile pretty much everywhere except for Threads and Instagram, where it's The Novice Cinephile. Also, like AJ at Collider.com. I just interviewed Kihu Kwan for Loki. Emmy season is kicking off. He's finally doing press. Had a fun conversation. He's the biggest MCU stan in Hollywood, I feel like. So that was really fun. That will be up by the time you guys see this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the noti bell so you don't miss a thing. Put us in your podcast feed so you can take us with you on the go. We're going to be here talking more JJK, more MHA. We got to talk Kaiju number 8. That's about to wrap up. Crunchyroll has already sent an email about that finale, so we'll get to that when it comes. Don't worry. But keep it locked in here on the Amateur Otaku. Until next time, guys. Peace.